Hello and welcome to another episode of Business on the Wire. In what was likely the largest deal in the tech space and, of course, in the Indian startup system, Jio and Facebook came together where Facebook picked up a 10% stake in Jio. To discuss the implications both for the businesses going ahead as also what it might mean for data neutrality and for the changing ecosystem for the e-commerce players. Joining me now is Nikhil Pava, the founder of Medianama, a digital rights activist and a man who's really been at the forefront of all issues around net neutrality. Nikhil, thank you so much for joining in. This is easily one of the biggest deals, if not the biggest deal we've seen in the Indian tech space with Facebook and Jio. First, I just want your early thoughts on the deal before we get into the intricacies of it.
Well, it's a huge deal. I don't think there's a startup or a business in India, at least a tech or a tech-related business in India that's had that large a valuation of over $60 billion. And again, it's the coming together of two behemoths, right? Two extremely dominant players in their field, in their respective fields, who've largely been working almost adversarially so far. For them to come together is like, I don't think the internet ecosystem in India will ever be the same again, because this is not just like a small deal. This is a 10% stake. It's a minority stake, but it's also the signaling of the fact that they're going to be working together. They have the ability now to steamroll anyone and everyone in the internet space in India. So, and given the environment we're in right now, it makes it even more difficult or scarier for those who are currently operating in the space. But the one big question that's been on my mind is, what will Google do?
That's an important question. And before we get to, the dynamics of this, what do you think was in it for both of them, for Facebook and for Jio? Was it, like you said, befriending your worst enemy and hence getting them on your side? What's the big up for both sides?
So on the policy side, they've been very adversarial. Like Facebook has constantly been pitching for end-to-end encryption and to ensure that communications on WhatsApp remain secure and the government can't snoop on communications. Reliance Jio, in its regulatory filings with the TRAI on intermediary liability and even publicly at discussions, including ours, have often said that national security is paramount. Government needs access to data, and therefore no messaging apps should prevent it. So that was the big bone of contention. But there have also been largely disagreements around data localization that was forced on WhatsApp in India. And Jio has been talking about the fact that there's a threat of digital colonization, that Indian data should remain in India. And that's a line that the government has also been taking. So I'm not sure how to read this. Is this Facebook accepting Jio's policy positions, or is it Jio accepting Facebook's policy positions, or are they still going to be competitive, or are they still going to be in disagreement? So that policy angle is going to be really intriguing, because there've been hard positions on both sides. On the business front is where this really gets interesting. So you'd think of both of these as really, really powerful players in their respective fields. The largest social network, the largest ISP, 400 odd million users on WhatsApp, 388 million internet connections. That's over half of India's connection base of about 635 million internet connections just with Jio. Jio's changed the India forever. And, so you think that it's an easy partnership and they'll be able to steamroll anyone. But if you think about it, Jio has really struggled to get scale for its non-telecom side of the business, for the digital services. So how many of us actually, I have a Jio connection, but do I really use Jio movies or all the other free stuff or features that they're offering? We don't really do that. We go to an Amazon, or we use a Hotstar. We use a Netflix for video. For in terms of payments, how many of people even know that Jio Payments actually exists? That they have various government RBI licenses initially for a wallet, or that they can offer UPI. We don't know these things, right? And so there's their own then the vertical integration that Jio was supposed to bring to the country, where a large mobile operator with great services on top of it, that hasn't quite worked out. So in for Jio, commerce is their big bet, and commerce is what changes ecosystems. Like if you go back to 2010, 11, 12, it was Flipkart getting scale, getting lots of funding, getting usage that really blew up the internet in India, because what had happened was once e-commerce gives a direct monetization through transactions. And so e-commerce companies are the largest advertisers on the internet. And because of that, media grows, because of that, content grows. So commerce is really where the biggest difference is made in the country, right? In any country, in any country's internet, they need commerce to work. And that's what happened in India. Now, when you look at Jio, commerce is its last bet. They've tried content, not quite worked. They've tried payments, not quite worked. They need payments and merchants on board to complete that loop. And Facebook also, just like Google, always targets small merchants and small advertisers, small players, because that kind of allows them a buffer against the actions of large advertising agencies that are very powerful. So if there's an advertising play for Facebook in this, where it can get small merchants through JioMart, that's a big deal for them. But also from a commerce perspective, they can bring commerce to WhatsApp, because WhatsApp has not been monetized extensively so far. That's again a very big play. So either way, Facebook needs small merchants. Jio has offered that they will do that rollout and get small merchants. But there's huge headwinds for both companies, in that sense that you've got established competition. So you've got, for payments, for example, you've got Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm, all of which have had a head start on WhatsApp because of the restrictions related to localization. WhatsApp still hasn't, I believe, been able to do a full-fledged launch. So that entire delay has cost Facebook dear. If you remember, when WhatsApp initially launched payments in pilot, the first thing that Vijay Shekhar Sharma, the founder of Paytm, did was went on TV shows and started talking about how WhatsApp is being given a comparative advantage. Shortly thereafter, the RBI put in data localization restrictions. And because Google Pay which also hadn't done localization at that point in time, because it had a full-fledged launch, I think that's why it was allowed to continue with its operations, but WhatsApp was stopped. And so all of these guys have a head start in payments. Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal have a head start in commerce. So Facebook and Jio could have tried to compete with each other, and that would have made it even more difficult for the two of them to get any kind of scale. Probably that would have been a recipe for failure. Now they've chosen to collaborate against some of these larger players. So there are implications from a business perspective where you'll probably see that competition will become more aggressive, because they want to address the two of these coming together. But also at the same time, for the two of them, it's do or die at this point in time in terms of monetizing services outside of advertising and telecom in India.
Yeah. What do you think the changed face of that particular e-commerce market might be, Nikhil? Because we've seen how Reliance works. So we've seen how it worked in the telecom space, where there was, first aggressive slashing of prices. They really work on volume and building up volume. They have already taken on Amazon, and there's a lot of bad blood that exists in that space already. What kind of a reshaped e-commerce world do you think we're going to see?
So I think from a policy perspective, there's going to be a lot of support from the usual groups that are pushing back against Amazon and Flipkart, the Swadeshi Jagran Manch, the CAIT, which is again I think a confederation of online Indian traders or something like that. So both of them are going to support. I believe they will end up supporting Jio in this, even though Swadeshi Jagran Manch has put a call out against this deal just today. But I think that Reliance Jio and Facebook are looking at an omni-commerce play. They're looking at an online to offline play. So while what Amazon and Flipkart historically have done is aggregated all sorts of players, allowed distributors to become retailers online, and allowed a marketplace for massive competition with offline stores. Jio is planning to take an omnicom channel play where they will basically get mom and pop retailers to sell their products online, and they will facilitate payments, and the retailers will do the delivery. It's not going to, and all of this happening on WhatsApp, which has the largest number of daily unique users. Is has huge potential. So there's still going to be two different kinds of commerce in play. From a policy perspective, I think there will be further pushback against Amazon and Flipkart, which legally operate at marketplaces, but principally you can see that they also control a lot of inventory through related or not legally related, but these companies, like WS Retail for Flipkart, and Amazon has its own company, Cloudtail. So they're not owned by Amazon right now, but there are agreements that allow them to operate. So they have control over inventory. That's there's going to be difference. There's going to be a pushback against those companies going forward, I think.
While the financials of the deal are really well known, Nikhil, and they're really eye-popping, as you said, in terms of valuations, the tricky one here is that nobody knows what the data sharing deal is. And for Facebook, really, they're looking at a gold mine in terms of data, right? This is right up their alley in terms of getting greater access to consumers, usage patterns with other sites, and all of that. Do you think we'll ever know what the data deal is behind these two behemoths coming together?
So my sense is that we ought to know. We don't know, but we ought to know. And that's what the Competition Commission will need to look into. There needs to be greater transparency in terms of what data sharing agreements are in place. What Facebook has gone out and said is that there is no user level data sharing taking place. We don't know whether there's going to be a separate joint venture that's created that might house some of the data that's shared by both companies. But let's also take a step back and look at the numbers in this deal from a slightly different perspective. It's just a 10% stake, right? And so neither of these companies are pushovers. Both of these companies are inherently competitive. They don't, with their history, they don't necessarily trust each other. So while they are partnering together to try and make this work, I think there's also going to be hesitation in terms of what kind of data might be shared and how much of control will be exercised by either company over shared data, because of the fact that they're both still very, very powerful players and neither of them is a pushover. So I think trust is going to be one of the main things for them to go into to try and figure out between Flipkart and between the Flipkart Walmart deal and between this deal is that it's just 10% here, and so it's not control. It's not Jio hasn't sold the company, so the dynamics are going to be very different. I don't think that we have much to worry about. From them being like two companies coming together to build something beautiful and new and highly competitive and to destroy the market. If it was in a partnership of equals, again, there would be distrust, I would say, because neither of them wants to give up on its claim over the Indian market.
And you believe this will be looked at quite thoroughly by the CCI?
So that's the tricky part. So there was a competition law review committee last year that made certain recommendations or interpreted competition law to look at new age markets. Like for example, amongst one of the things that they looked at was that control over data is a key factor to consider dominance. So therefore, the data part of this deal may be looked at fairly thoroughly. They've also said that most favored nation kind of agreements have anti-competitive effects. So if the deal is going to favor JioMart on WhatsApp over others, then there is going to be a problem. I think it helps both companies if they keep it open, if they allow more people to participate, because closed ecosystems don't necessarily work. Amazon, even if it has Cloudtail, still needs other retailers on board to offer greater variety. And the broad conversation that's happening around market crowding. And I think that's something that the CCI also needs to get into, that when two players become so large, that they really leave very little room for any new entrants to come in. Because historically, competition lawyers looked at two aspects. One, are you dominant? And in fact, there was even a CCI review on WhatsApp that acknowledged that WhatsApp is dominant. But just being dominant in a market doesn't mean that there's a competition concern or an issue. The next thing that they look at is, have you abused your dominance? So I think this deal is also going to be open to further scrutiny down the years, because right now you're looking at whether there is control over data, and whether that's creating anti-competitive effects. But I'm sure 3 years down the line, once this partnership is in operation, someone's going to file a complaint to check whether there is abuse of their dominance taking place or not. So we don't know how it will play out. I would think that at this point in time, given the situation in the market, there is going to be a likelihood that CCI allows this deal to go through. One, because it's a small stake. But what's also interesting about the deal is that Facebook has gotten a board seat. So that's a big deal. They have some amount of say in the decisions that the board takes. We don't know whether there's harm being done right now.
In the past, the government has been quite clear about its stance on net neutrality, Nikhil, and Facebook knows this well. They burnt their fingers a couple of years back. You, though, have expressed some concerns around net neutrality and the fact that that as well needs to be addressed.
So, if in terms of differential pricing, which means that from a cost perspective, so for example, Jio cannot provide lower data costs for accessing Facebook or its services or their joint venture services versus others. Net neutrality means that the pipe, the ISP that's allowing you to access something on the internet is treating each of those sites equally. So it's not discriminating between one versus the other, even if there is a deal. So in that sense, because we have strong regulations, I don't think there's a net neutrality concern over here. One, because of strong regulations. Two, because we have seen that India has been lauded globally for having the strongest net neutrality regulations in the world, and the IT minister has repeatedly voiced his support for net neutrality even after the ruling, and has taken much of the credit for that strong regulation. But also, when you look at it from a political perspective, across party lines, there was support for net neutrality. Whether it came from the Trinamool Congress, CPIM, the Congress side, Rahul Gandhi spoke in favor of net neutrality in Parliament at that point in time. So it will be a major issue if the BJP government goes back on its stance on net neutrality to allow these guys to do anything that is problematic. That being said, it's a very powerful partnership, and we have to wait and watch. The other aspect is that back in 2015, in their own way, both companies had pushed back against net neutrality. So Jio had wanted preferential pricing of access. Facebook famously ran multiple campaigns opposing net neutrality. TV ads, newspaper ads, hoardings that we saw all over. So both of these companies were aligned at that time in their own different way, and they still lost. Right. So I think this time what's different is that they are both more dominant and more powerful. The market is much bigger. But I doubt that they will be able to move things much there, or whether even they will have the intent to move things much in terms of net neutrality. I'm not sure whether Facebook would want to suffer another embarrassment here, like they did, and that was a global embarrassment for them. That was, if you think about it, the first major public policy loss globally for Facebook, and a very public loss for them.
Yeah. I read an interesting comment, Nikhil, which said that if there's someone who is losing sleep or should over the Facebook Jio deal, it's Vijay Shekhar Sharma. What are you mentioned it a little bit, but what are the repercussions
Yeah.
for the market? That's going to get seriously upended, you think?
Sorry, I lost you for a bit there.
Yeah, I'm saying, what are the repercussions for that part of the market? Is that going to get seriously upended? You think the kind of pie that Paytm holds at this point, or PhonePe as well?
So I think that's going to become even more competitive. I don't think it's necessarily going to get upended, because those guys have a head start. They have a very large merchant base, whether Paytm, whether PhonePe, whether Google Pay, and they have a lot of customer support as well in terms of consumers used to using these services. Remember that until WhatsApp payments launched, or if it's still in beta, to be honest. I think the full-fledged launch isn't here yet. Most people, like when there's some transactions that were to happen, they would happen over WhatsApp. The payments would happen over PhonePe or Google Pay or Paytm. And so it's good. Let's see, because if WhatsApp's goal is going to be to try and convert that base into transacting using WhatsApp payments directly, it might be easier for them than for most others. But we'll have to see what happens there. I don't think it's going to be an easy battle for anyone. But the big factor that I think that we are in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis, and how the ecosystem is going to shape up post the crisis with this deal also in place is going to be quite tricky. I think that the entire internet ecosystem is getting upended right now in many sectors.
Yeah, that's the one I wanted to come to, Nikhil. Just going back to the comment you made about what will Google do now. Is it more and more becoming about the big guys and less about the startup ecosystem, which in any case has really got a body blow with the entire COVID impact,
It's always been about the big guys. The internet has always been a number one and number two market. Only the top two survive. In many cases, only the top entity survives, right? So I think if you look at the gap, for example, between Facebook and Twitter, it's huge. If gap between Facebook and Snap, it's huge. Number three might be able to survive. In India, if you need an example, look at how dominant Naukri.com is versus. I think when you look at Google, so you need to look at this battle between Google and Facebook from a slightly different lens. Let's say that you and I are communicating over messaging, versus speaking to each other face to face, right? The internet provides a whole series of layers between us. First, there's the app that we're using, then there's the device that we're using, there's the operating system in place, there is a store from which you download the apps, there is your ISP, there are multiple ISPs along the way, there are undersea cables. So each of these layers is potentially a means for control. And if you think about it, Facebook did really well in the app ecosystem, which is an open marketplace. But when it came to operating systems, it lost. So they tried Facebook against Android and Apple. It tried Facebook Home and it lost that battle. Subsequently, they tried the Facebook Phone, which never launched. Again, they were trying to win one battle at that layer, so they would have some control. Amazon tried the Amazon Fire Phone again because they didn't want to cede the handset play to Google, and they lost. And that's where the Facebook trying to partner. Facebook partnered with ISPs of its portfolio of 30 odd, 40 odd sites at that point in time to get a certain amount of comparative advantage. Now, look at Google's position. They have the largest search in the world, the most popular search. They have the largest operating system for handsets in the world. They have a device play. What they don't have is an ISP play. and they would want neutrality at an ISP level. Thankfully, net neutrality regulations help there, but I don't think they would want to cede that ground to Facebook without having skin in the game at the ISP level. So my guess is if I was Google right now, I would look very closely at what's going on and figure out what I need to do to also have a play. It's the moment one entity has gone into that domain, others have tried to follow. We know during net neutrality that while Facebook had launched free basics, Google was looking at similar things themselves because they couldn't let Facebook get away with it and not have a competitive play. So whether it's Facebook or it's Google, if Facebook's done something, Google and Amazon are sure to follow.
So, Nikhil, I imagine the changes in terms of the FDI guidelines from Chinese funds or Chinese investors, specifically for the startup ecosystem, what does this mean? Because that's where a lot of the money was invested and that's where a lot of potential for growth lies for these guys, thanks to the investment.
Yeah, so I think the restriction on Chinese investment is going to hit the startup ecosystem really badly. If you look at most of the investments that have been made over the last 3 or 4 years, it's almost entirely been either a combination of Alibaba and SoftBank, which work together because SoftBank is an investor in Alibaba, or it's going to be Tencent at a really large startup level. Right. So for most, when that investment gets shut down or when it has to now go through a government route and that additional bureaucracy exists, and it's about $8 billion of investment that China has made in India, according to the Chinese embassy in India. It's going to impact their investments. It's going to make them reconsider how much and how they're going to invest in India going forward. But for many startups, for example, there's a founder that I was talking to who was expecting money from a Chinese investor, and they're taking a wait and watch approach now. So that money isn't coming in. Many startups have working capital of about, I'd say, anything from 12 to 18 months. And that's the kind of runway that they keep because for them, they're really loss making. No startup in India is really profitable right now at a large scale. So in that environment, they need a substantial amount of cash coming in. Just look at the names that Chinese investors have invested in, right? ShareChat, Paytm, Byju's, Ghana, Daily Hunt, Udaan, Tracto, Big Basket. Almost 50% of Make My Trip, or Oyo is also there. 50% of Make My Trip is owned by China Ctrip. Now, in that environment, what if they can't put in the money? Who will? So many founders are now going to start looking at alternate investments, and even there is a bit of a struggle because most investors are weighing the public equity market. Investor was asking for a haircut of anything between 20 to 33%, because he said if I put my money in the public equity markets, and I'll make about 30% over the next 1 year. It's typically a high risk, high return investment. You can either go to complete zero, and you basically spread your money across 10 different companies and hope that one is going to give you 300x, while the rest might just die or get rolled up into another company. So from a founder perspective, because they're all struggling with new business models, except for education, I think most, or maybe streaming, most businesses have been largely wiped out at this point in time. Their customers are either not paying or they don't know who to go to, where to get money from. This global recession, it's a really, really tricky time to be a founder. And when Chinese investment gets cut off, the question is, where is the money going to come from? Global investors are not necessarily going to be keen at investing in startups at this point in time. So my sense is over the next few months, what you're going to see is a complete wipeout of many small startups. Many of them are going to start consolidating or merging in order to keep operations running.
No, absolutely. Fair point, Nikhil. I think there are big concerns for the startup space. Thank you so much for joining in, as always, with your thoughts both on the mega deal and the minor problems, or at least the smaller problems for smaller startups. I hope some of that gets resolved over the course of the next few months. Thank you again for joining in.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on.